In 1632, in the city of York, a young Robinson Crusoe sits listening to his father explain the ideal way to live. His father advocates for the middle station of life, a comfortable, predictable existence, perfectly balanced between the crushing miseries of poverty and the exhausting anxieties of massive wealth. But the younger Crusoe finds that idea completely suffocating. His head is already filled with wandering thoughts and a relentless drive to go to sea, making him entirely deaf to his parents' pleas for him to settle down and study law. Eventually, without a word of warning or a final blessing, he boards a ship bound for London. He throws away a guaranteed life of ease in a direct, impulsive defiance of the societal expectations placed on him. By tearing himself away from a secure community, Crusoe invites a severe psychological test. He demanded total freedom from the structures of home, and the universe is about to give him that freedom in its most absolute, terrifying form. During a voyage toward Africa, a catastrophic storm shreds the ship Crusoe is traveling on. Every single one of his 10 crewmates drowns in the surging water, leaving him coughing seawater on a rocky beach as the lone survivor. This historical map shows the massive, isolating geography of his new reality. He is washed up on an uninhabited island somewhere near the Caribbean and the Orinoco River, thousands of miles away from any established European shipping lane. His immediate reality is bleak. He has no food, no dry clothes, no weapons, and no shelter. That first night, utterly terrified of wild beasts, he forces himself to sleep in the branches of a tree while rain pours down on him. But the lack of food is quickly overshadowed by a suffocating psychological shock. He ran away from England to escape the confines of his family, but now he is trapped within a geographical void, surrounded entirely by the ocean. He can figure out how to forage for fruit and shoot wild goats to survive. However, as the initial shock of the wreck fades, he faces a much longer transition into a life where his only company is the sound of the waves. To keep that silence from driving him mad, Crusoe imposes severe discipline on himself. He fills almost every waking hour with exhaustive physical labor and rigid daily routines. He spends months carving out a fortified castle against a steep rock wall, pitching a tent and ringing it with sharp stakes. Later, he builds a secondary retreat deep in the woods, which he proudly calls his country bower. This classic woodcut illustrates exactly how the island molds his physical appearance over the years. With his original clothes rotted away, he tailors a heavy, bizarre wardrobe out of raw goatskins. Notice the rugged beard and the heavy musket strapped to his shoulder. He has entirely shed his civilized English identity. He no longer stares out at the ocean hoping for a ship. He has carved out a quiet, profound peace within his own solitary kingdom. Decades of labor have transformed the wild island into a productive estate. By fortifying his home and securing a steady supply of food, Crusoe has arrived at the stable, comfortable state of life his father had urged him to settle for 28 years earlier.
Then, after 15 years of absolute solitude, he is walking along the beach and stops dead in his tracks. Pressed deeply into the wet sand is a single clear human footprint. You might expect a lonely castaway to fall to his knees and weep with joy at the proof of another person. Instead, Crusoe is paralyzed by a sudden, intense terror, fleeing back to his fortress and mistaking every stump in the dark for an attacker. The isolation that saved him has also worked him. He has spent so long acting as the undisputed master of his tiny universe that the mere thought of another human being threatens the absolute control he holds over his world. His panic is eventually justified when a group of cannibals lands on his shore to execute their captives. To stop the slaughter, Crusoe is forced to break from his safe seclusion and fire his muskets at the raiding party. In the chaos, he rescues a young man who was marked for death. Crusoe names him Friday after the day of the rescue, and his decades of deafening silence abruptly end. What follows is a slow, challenging process of relearning how to be social. Crusoe teaches Friday to speak English and introduces him to his religion, and in return, he experiences the honest, unfeigned warmth of a companion who continually surprises him with loyalty and intelligence. Friday's companionship forces Crusoe to confront a difficult truth.
He had successfully mastered the mechanics of staying alive in a total vacuum, but it is the act of sharing that survival with someone else that actually brings him joy. The final test arrives when an English ship drops anchor off the coast. A rowboat approaches the shore carrying a crew of armed mutineers who are preparing to abandon their captive captain on the island. Crusoe and Friday immediately leverage their intricate knowledge of the terrain. They lure the mutineers deep into the woods, ambush the ringleaders, and help the captain retake control of his ship. After exactly 28 years, 2 months, and 19 days, Crusoe finally leaves his island. He brings Friday with him, and the young man adapts seamlessly to the wider world, even eagerly fighting a massive bear during a snowy trek through the European mountains. Crusoe eventually makes his way back to England and settles right into that middle station of life his father once recommended. Yet the weathered, experienced survivor who claims that quiet life bears no resemblance to the restless teenager who originally fled from it. The enduring power of Defoe's story comes from that long, agonizing transformation. It offers a meticulous manual on primitive survival, alongside a deep examination of resilience and the intense arrogance of youth. Crusoe's 28 years of exile suggest that while a person can maintain their existence in total isolation, that life only gains its true value through the presence of another. In the end, the connection to shared humanity is the one thing his solitary kingdom could never provide.